So, welcome to today's session. We're going to start in a lying down position, but just before you move into that, I have a nice quote. I think it's a nice quote, which is meant to be ascribed to the Buddha, and I thought it was particularly good for this week. In some ways, it's felt like there's been a cloud more than the weather hanging over us. Here it is. In the sky, there is no distinction of east and west. People create distinctions out of their own minds and believe them to be true. Now, we'll need the normal allotment of equipment, a chair, a block, a belt, maybe for some of you 2 blocks, if that's helpful, and then something to sit on when we're in the breathing exercises. So take time and arrive on your mat in a lying face-up position with your legs bent and your feet on the floor. So the emphasis for today is an all-round class, which incorporates stability, mobility, some strengthening exercises, but it's all based on and under the influence of breathing. So that's the main game. So while you're lying down, bring one hand onto your navel, one hand onto your upper part of your chest, and then just remind yourself to relax your shoulders. Take time and just let the back body melt into the floor. And feel the points of contact with the floor where your feet are placed and the weight of them, the sacrum, the upper back, support for your head and your neck. And then switch your attention. Maybe you close your eyes to do this, to your breathing rhythm, your own breath rhythm. It has a signature. It's your own breath. You breathe in a particular way. And then, if you like, and you're ready to do it, then allow your breath to build up some momentum. So you're breathing in, perhaps a little bit more fully, and in a similar way, breathing out. Notice where you feel your breath. And what I'm noticing is I notice it more at the front of my body, front chest, diaphragm, abdominal area. And we can use the arms to open to the breath. And we'll do that by taking the arms out to the side on an inhalation. Big breath in and out to the side. And then exhaling, bringing the arms, maybe the hands resting both onto your center chest now. And continuous cycles of breathing. And here the opportunity is, if you wish, to breathe into the side of your body. I think sides of my rib cage, the armpit area, maybe even with the help of the arms, the collarbones. So possibly the breath is a little bit fuller now. And after this next breath, bring your arms back to center and then down by the side of your body and relax them. And along the way, with deeper breaths, you might notice that there's a little movement through the spinal column and through the pelvis. So for me, what that reflects is the inhalation. There's a little tilt of the pelvis, and on the exhalation, a reverse tilt. And again, we can exaggerate that somewhat. So the pelvis tilts forward and back, and you get a gentle rocking through the base of the spine. Let's take that into some small bridges, and on the inhalation, pressing your feet, lifting the hips off the floor slightly, and then on the exhalation, returning back to the floor. Let's work through those small movements again, where you might, for yourself, like to increase the lift through your hips. Over several cycles. And notice as you do that whether you're starting to clench the buttocks. See if you can keep the buttocks a little bit more relaxed. Even lift from the outer hips more. With the firmness of your feet, that's what gives you stability. The next lift of your hips, bring your arms into play. On the inhalation, bring your arms up and overhead towards the floor behind you. On the exhale, lower back down. So I get through more movement through my whole spinal column this way. And a little nodding through my neck. Chin lifts a little bit and then draws down as the hips lift. On the next lift of the pelvis into your bridge, leave your arms overhead. Check that you're not clenching your buttocks. Bring firmness to your feet. Press down a little bit more on the inside of your feet and stretch your knees away from you. Elongate in that manner. And then exhale and lower down, and coming down, as we do in yoga, a vertebrae at a time. Last one, inhaling, arms overhead. Let's try that again with the arms staying overhead. Then move the front thighs away from the hips. And maybe your hands away from your thighs. Got this more elongated side body, and then beginning to lower down a little bit more, and your arms coming down too. And then take pause, not so much with your breath, but with your body resting now, your shoulders relaxed, and still noticing your breath. Let's come on to all fours position. Just rolling on to your side and placing your hands a little bit in front of your shoulder line and your knees a little back from your hip line. Another opportunity to work through your spinal column. On an inhalation, allow the spine to dip a little bit. Maybe lift your chin and look out. And then on the exhalation, instead of bringing your hips all the way back to your heels in child's pose, go halfway back. And your back will round right there at the base of your spine, or at least that's what happens with mine. Inhale, rock forward, look out. exhale, rock back, and just partially bringing your buttocks back. Let's go back and forth between those small movements. And keeping them small allows us to observe how we're working our breath. Maybe this is a nice warm-up for your shoulders and your neck. I hope it is. And finally, bringing your feet together and lowering your buttocks back. Bringing your hands back. Now you're approaching child's pose in your own version. Bring your elbows down. Bring your hands one on top of the other. And rest fully. Just feel like your whole body, you're allowing it like a balloon deflating. Complete relaxation through your shoulders and your hips. And let's go on, lifting up and placing your hands underneath your shoulders. Push off, lift your knees, lift your hips. We're not holding dog pose, just using it as a way to come all the way up and up to standing. Right. We have an opportunity to work with the breath and make that the focus again. So standing squarely on your mat, relax your shoulders, relax the backs of your knees so you're not overstretching them, and have a little distance between your feet. How far is that distance? So that you feel stable. So there's space for the pelvis. Bring your hands up and place them center chest in front of your breastplate. Relax your shoulders. I'm going to do a big sweep of your arms out to the side with an overhead stretch. That's your inhale. Sweep out. And hands overhead. And exhale back to prayer position where you started. Let's make this movement slow as you can and feel it as a generous sweep of your arms. And I just noticed that on the elevation of my arms, I'm just going to work through a little tilt of my chin up, a little flexion of my neck. And bring your chin down when your hands are in prayer. All these movements incorporated as your body is ready to welcome them. This time when your arms are overhead, pause there, and just keeping a breath retention, extending your breath, and then exhaling, coming back. And let's do something like that on the exhalation and pause there on the exhalation. And in your own time, I hope you're going with your own beat of your drum, your breath. Remembering to keep the pause there at the top and at the bottom of your breath. And last one. You might begin to feel your breath more fully, not just at the front body, the side body, the back body, the fullness of the breath. And release your arms down. We're going to do a forward bending movement. It's a version of Uttanasana. And this time you're going to bring your arms forward and up. Palms will face forward, and then dive forward with your knees bent. Like this. You can do it along with me or just watch. Inhale, arms come up. Exhale, there's your dive forward. Sweep your arms behind the body line and bring your hands to rest onto your sacrum. Your legs are bent so that you can rest your chest onto your legs. Inhale, bring your arms forward and up. And exhale, down by your side. That would be one cycle. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, well-bent legs. Bring your arms back and rest your hands onto your sacrum. Inhale, stretch up. Exhale, arms to your side. Let's go a few more cycles. Maybe take 3 of these at your own pace, in your own timing. When we go slow as we are, there's more time to notice things along the way, isn't it? When we're rushing, we don't really notice that much. We just want to get things done. Whoops. Last one. Okay, good. And then let's come to Tadasana once more. There's an opportunity for us here to do some salutes in a slow and gentle way. I'm going to grab a couple of blocks because we'll take some lunges in the salutes, and they can be helpful. You might not need them. So there they are. I have 2 blocks. Standing in Tadasana, the front of your mat. Bring your hands back to prayer position in front of your chest. And as you take pause here, relax your shoulders. Once more, soft behind the backs of your knees. Feel the stability through your stance on your feet. This is basically Tadasana, the mountain pose. And as before, we'll do a big sweep of the arms and drop forward into Uttanasana. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, when your arms come down, rest your hands down onto your legs. Your ankles, your feet, or maybe onto the floor, and still rest your chest onto your thighs. Your legs are well bent, the tailbone is lifted. We're going to take a step back with the right leg and come onto the right knee in that lunge. Right knee back, resting on your right knee. Good. If you were to use your blocks here, and one on each side, bring them in and have the heel of your hands onto the top of the block. You might not need them. They give you a little bit more clearance for bringing your legs into lunges. So there you are. Draw the right knee back so that the shin bone is perpendicular. And then on an exhalation, bring your hips back. And you're straightening the front leg and taking a bow towards it. Bend the leg again, come into your lunge. Inhale, lift your chest. We're going to step back into downward facing dog pose now. Left foot back. Take an extra breath there. Stretch your shoulders. All right, and then kneel onto your left knee. You're going to bring your right leg forward. So either using your blocks or not. There's your lunge. Inhale. Exhale, straight right leg, buttocks back. Inhale, bend that knee again, open your chest forward. And we're going to take a big step forward. Left foot to right foot. Bend your knees, let your chest rest onto your thighs. Exhale, inhale, bring the arms up. And then that big gesture back to Namaste. That was a very long cycle of salutes. This time we might go a little more quickly. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, your dive forward. Taking your left foot back onto your left knee. Inhale. Exhale, straight right leg, moving your buttocks back. Inhale, come forward. Exhale, down dog. Take an extra breath there. It took us a while to get there, so take an extra breath. Working on your left side again. Your left foot's coming forward, so you're bending your right knee to the floor. I'm going to take an extra step as I can, a little more distance between my legs. Inhale. Exhale, left leg straightens. Inhale. And exhale, step up, Uttanasana, standing forward bend. Inhale, sweep of the arms. Exhale, home base. I'm going to go one more round, which is left and right legs working. Inhale. Exhale. Whoops. Forward bend. Inhale, right foot back. Exhale, straight left leg. Inhale, lunging again. Exhale, down dog. So these movements are for your hip mobility. So if the hips are stiff, that's where you would want to use the block. So taking, kneeling onto your left knee, right foot forward. There's your lunge. Exhale, straight right leg. There's your hamstring stretch. Inhale, open your chest forward. And then step forward. Bend your knees. Inhale, bring your arms forward and up. Exhale to prayer. In breath. Out breath fully. Left leg comes back, all with the breath. Straight leg, bowing over it. Lunging, inhale. Exhale, right foot back. Take an extra breath there because you can. And left leg comes forward. I come up on my fingertips to give me a little bit more clearance. Right knee to the floor, inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale, step up. Inhale, arms up. And exhale to prayer. And you might notice that your breathing picked up there, the pace of it. Lift your elbows a little bit, your hands still in prayer. Just open up the sides of your lungs. And we've done well. It's time to get a chair. So one of the props that I have here is a belt. We're not quite ready to use it yet, but if you need to get that, then grab hold of it. And have a seat. There's a lovely pose that I like to practice often called Prasarita Padattanasana, and this is the chair version of it. So where you're seated is not completely comfortable necessarily. You're closer to the edge of the chair, so you're using your muscles to support you. Take your feet out wider than the chair legs and turn your feet out a little bit. In Prasarita Padattanasana, or wide leg forward bend, the bend is from the bottom of your torso, the tops of your thighs. So where I've placed my thumb and my index finger, I can bend forward from there. And it reminds me of that nice movement of lifting my sitting bones. So let's do a couple of movements with the breath again, not to leave it behind. Inhale and exhale, come forward. Bring your hands down your legs, but we're not going to stay there. We'll come right back up. Inhale, back up. Exhale, forward bending. So if you do tend to be stiff in your hips and in your lower back, some gentle movements just to warm up that area. And keeping the lumbar sacrum area safe. Okay, last time you go forward, let's see if we can hold that forward position. Check that you are lifting your tailbone, but you're firmly seated where you are. And then bring your hands down in front of you. I'm on the tips of my fingers, still breathing. Sometimes we forget to breathe when there are held poses or static poses. We never want to do that. And take your hands forward. Feel like you're projecting your hips back as you do that. Okay, so this is good pose to integrate with what we're going to do later when we're standing, doing our standing poses on the mat. Come all the way up and step your feet in and take up your belt. Let's bind it. To make a loop. And that loop we're going to place over our legs and place it just above the knees. Instead of having my feet wide, I've stepped my feet in to hip width distance. And my knees are about the same distance too. Bring your feet back a little bit. And we're just going to do standing up from here. Keep tension on the belt, so you're pressing out the outer thighs against the belt. And then have a look down at your foot position and create pressure on the inside of your foot, especially the base of the big toe and your heel bone. And then we'll use our arms to help us come up to standing, and inhale and coming up. Exhale, a slow sit back, and arms come down, and arms create that momentum, and exhale down. Now, stop for a moment and notice whether your feet are lifting up at all on the inside as you come up. Make a commitment as much as you can to keeping the base of the toe, big toes pressing down, and the front of the heel pressing down. And let's go again. Inhale. Can you work with the belt like that? Press out against the belt as you sit, come up, and as you sit back down. Good. Let's do 3 more in our own time. Good. So you're reaching back through your buttock bones for the chair. And that's a slow movement when you come back down. I've been doing these movements for a while. In the beginning, they seemed impossible. And now they seem less impossible. All right. Well done. And then have that rest for a moment. Take off your belt. So without working with resistance this time, still keep in mind the feeling of the belt. That's why we use the props, is to create sensations that we might trade on without using the props later on. Keep your feet back a little bit towards the chair. And we're going to do the same movement coming up. Press your big toe, the heel bone. Inhale, come up. When you sit back this time, don't quite touch down onto the chair, but move your shin bones back. And push off again and inhale and come up. Good. And again, coming back to the chair, but not quite reaching it. And coming up. Let's go 2 more. Shin bones come back, knees come back, buttocks come back. Inhale up. Exhale back. And you're just hovering above the front of the chair. And it's going to feel so nice when you get to sit, which is very soon. And have a seat. Good. So I think I recruited some muscles from my shoulders. So let's do a few shoulder rolls. And I think using the arms like that helps you, it reminds you to breathe. The movement of the arms stimulates inhalation and exhalation. Very well done. All right, come up to standing. And it's time now that we work with our senses of balance. Through the exercise we call tandem. Before we do that, bring your hands onto your hips. I'll turn side on here. And step right foot forward and left foot back. We do this in our standing poses as an asymmetrical approach to standing, which tests our balance. So as you've done that, and I've got about 1 meter's distance between my feet, my tendency, and this stems from some of those muscles that I was using in the chair pose, my tendency, and I'm working on this, is to roll to the outside of my foot. My ankle rolls. So keep the base of the big toe down, the base of the little toe down, that point 2, and the heel bone. Not just your front foot, but your back foot. Good. Relax your shoulders and feel the weight divide equally front and back. Transitions of poses are an opportunity to practice grace in movement. So we're going to make a smooth transition and step left foot to right and right foot back. My back foot's turned out slightly, and there's a space between the tops of my thighs that allows for the space of my pelvis. And again, looking down at the left foot, base of the big toe, base of the little toe, front of the heel. Once more looking out towards the horizon, feel the same connections on your back foot. and the weight divided evenly. Shoulders relaxed and broad. Good. And then step up. And let's try that in a slightly different way. So I'm going to step my right foot forward in front of my left foot, my right heel touching my left foot big toe. So I've closed the gap now between the tops of my thighs. If I stimulate these muscles on the outer side of my hips and squeeze in a little bit and try to talk at the same time, I might lose my balance. And keep your arms out to the side if that works well for your balance, like the tightrope walker and his pole. Good. And here's the test for your breath. So we don't want to be holding the pose by holding our breath. Okay, good. And then let it all go and swap it over. Left foot in front of right. Maybe I should just stop talking. And then my arms are going to give me balance, I hope. If you can, make the breath the emphasis again. And relax your arms. So you might take on over a week or two just slipping this into your daily activities, at some regular time, like when you have your morning or afternoon tea break, if you do that. Let's switch, and my right foot's in front again. And I didn't say this as relating to the tandem pose, but see if you can divide the weight more evenly front and back. Your right foot carries the same weight as your left. What if you rotated your head? Can you look sideways? Maybe not. And then left side. And left in front of right. So a chance to practice grace under pressure. Pressure is, I don't want to fall over. Good. Front foot, back foot. Divide the weight evenly as you can. Good, breathing. And then release. And happily give your feet and ankles a shake out. Any tension shaken off. Okay, and a recent exercise that I'm employing and having some fun with, it's very entertaining, is piano toes. So stand with your feet a little wider than you would in Tadasana, or more directly underneath your knees and your hips, and have a look at your 2 feet. We must give our feet more attention. They're such good servants of all the things that we want to do. And then lift all of your toes off the floor to the best of your ability, little toe 2, and then bring them back down, elongated. Just to notice the difference, scrunch your toes, tense them as much as you can. You can see all the knuckles contract, and then release them. In the release position, that's when they're elongated. Now keeping your 4 other toes onto the floor, lift just your big toes. See what happens. Then change. And big toes down and all 4 toes, other 4 toes coming up. And then back and forth. Now this is a chance to be a little frustrated if your toes are not obeying your directions, or just be entertained by piano toes. Okay, good. And then let's give that up for a second. One more exercise that you could do on a regular basis, the one that we just practiced, and also some heel raises. So I'm going to stand near to a wall, or that chair that you're using, you might hang on to it for balance. And simply keeping your weight on the base of your big toe and little toe, heel rise, lift your heels, and lower. Heels up. Okay. And once again, see if you can avoid that rolling onto the outer spine of the foot. Take this in your own time. I'm on double mats on a carpeted floor, so I don't really have enough sensation. It's better if you don't have so much padding underneath your feet, but you need enough so that it's not uncomfortable. All right, and the last few of these, see if you can go straight up. So you had a little string attached to the top of your head, and that's instead of leaning forward. How does your breath support you here? Okay, good. And then just relax. So these are lovely movements because the way that your forefoot works is really a lot to do with your stability, how responsive it is. So let's take a position on your mat, facing the long end of your mat. Be ready with a block out in front of you somewhere. We're not going to use it initially. And stand in Tadasana. Maybe you have a new appreciation and feelings of sensation in Tadasana after working your feet and your leg muscles. Relax your shoulders again. So like the mountain of mountain pose, stability through your feet, and easy to discover your natural breath rhythm here. Notice if your buttocks tend to clench, whether that's happened or that clenching is behind your knees as well. Soften there. Good. Bring your hands onto your hips and step out wide on your mat. And this is in anticipation of that wide leg forward bend we call Prasarita Padottanasana. Initially, look at your feet, right foot, left foot, and do a little rolling through your foot bones. So you're flattening the inner arch and then rolling onto the outer arch and back and forth. Maybe noticing more of the foot bones as you do that. I can feel that, and through my ankles as well. Then adjust your stance so that your outer arch of your foot, the outer spine of your foot, is parallel with the short end of the mat. And you're all 5 toes pointing directly forward. Take a dive forward in your forward bend, your wide leg forward bend from the hip crease. And when your hands touch down, then walk them forward for a long dog pose. if your hands are not on the floor, bring in that block and have it support you in your forward bend. Have your hands onto the block. So the nice thing, potential in a long dog pose like this, is to stretch your shoulders. Keep your tail lifted, and then to strengthen the legs, firm your feet and your ankles and draw up just above your knees, the front thigh muscle, all the way up to the hip fold. That feels really great. One more opportunity to take a step or two further forward with your hands. Duck your chin towards your chest, as though you were looking towards the breastplate. Good. And then take it easy, take a step in and then another step in. And you could start to walk your feet in, or first come up and then walk your feet in to center and back to mountain pose, Tadasana. Relax your shoulders. So first, that was the first variation. Let's go again. And wide leg. Let's change the foot position and have your feet out at an angle of 45 degrees. Then bend your knees and come down into a partial squat. And we're going to open up through the inner thighs to whatever your body will allow at the moment, just by moving your knees back. You can help that with your thighs rolling out. Feel your hips sitting down towards the floor. And then this might be a new movement for you. It's been new for me. Slide your hips across to the right side towards your right knee. And the left leg straightens a little bit. And then do the opposite. You're shifting your balance of weight to the right. You've done that. And now you go to the left. And then to the right. And to the left. If you were sitting on a bench, you would stay low. And you'd be just sliding across one way and then the other without having to lift your hips. Okay, good. And then straight legs and coming all the way up. Turn your feet to center. Step back to center. Good. How was that? That's a bit of hip work, isn't it? That was the second variation. Here we go again. Step out wide. All right. And then here's an opportunity for rotation and for your neck. So take your block and place it on the forward of your mat. Make those adjustments to your feet. Spread your toes. Elongate them. And take a forward bend with your hands resting on the top of the block. And I've got the block on the high end. Keeping your shoulders back, lead with your breastbone. Stretch forward through your torso and lift your tailbone. Beautiful. Place just the heel of your left hand onto the block. Bring your right hand onto your right hip. Fully straighten through your left arm. As I do that, I'm lifting my chest up and a little bit more on my right side. Bring your right shoulder back. Bring your right elbow back. And you're still looking down at your hand. So you're just getting the most gentle stretch through your neck, the side of your neck. Good. Swap it over. left hand onto your hip. Lengthen that right arm, straighten through your right elbow. Keep your gaze downwards. Move your left shoulder back. Move your left elbow back. Good. Keep weight onto the right foot, same as the left. And then swap the hands again. All right, with a difference this time. So looking towards the right side and allowing for more movement through your back chest, through your dorsal thoracic. Bring your head back a little bit, your ears back a little bit. Cast your gaze up and turn away from the left side to the right. Good. Last one. Here we go, left. So this time allowing the head to turn, the upper body, that hand and arm onto your hip, your waist. Mindful of your left side, feel how the left foot supports you. And then looking down, 2 hands onto the block, pump up your chest, and then let's go heel, toe, back to center, and coming up. Good. And then besides shaking out your feet, shake out your feet and your whole leg. One side, then the other. Just enough so that it feels like the muscles are loosening. Very good. And we've done well there. And let's take a seated position now. And I'll sit cross-legged. With some suggestions. So if your knees end up higher than your hips, take more support underneath your buttocks. I've got a tiny bolster underneath me that works well for me, but it's fine to use several blankets or sit on a block on top of the blankets, just so your knees can relax and drop. Keep looking for comfort in your position, but also begin to bring through the attention to the spine and drawing up from the base of the spine to the crown of your head. Relax your shoulders. So I was saying from the beginning of the session that it's kind of an all-round class. So one of the things that we haven't done is any lateral movement. This is a good opportunity to do that. So let's bring the right hand onto the floor on the outside of your right leg. On the outside of your right hip. And so you just lean onto that right hand. My left hand's still onto my left leg, and it's a counterweight, so that the left side is going to stay down as I move my right hand out, possibly further to the right side. And then finally, if you like, bend your right elbow a little bit. That gives me an extra stretch through the left side of my rib cage. Maybe you feel that too. And then we'll bring the left arm up. Keep your chin towards your chest, and you might catch a glance of your left hand as you bring it overhead and to the right side. Keep the right shoulder relaxed. And then find your breath again as you did the very beginning of the session with the breathing in the side ribs. Feel your breath in your side ribs. Open up the left rib cage. Come all the way up and change the way you crossed your legs. You probably have a preferred way where you sit characteristically one leg in front of the other. See if this works for you. If it doesn't, if it creates discomfort, then get a higher support underneath you or go back to the original side. Right hand is counterweight on your right leg, left hand easing out towards the left side. Make a good beginning, relax your shoulders. A little farther with your left hand or bend that elbow down. We're not in a hurry, we're moving slowly into bringing the right arm into play. And duck your chin, keep it near to your collarbone to the right side. Look up as you take your right arm in a shoulder stretch to the left side. Breathe into your right ribs. Good. Inhale, come up. And when we lower that arm, give your legs a good stretch. All right. And then in including the important elements of a general class, let's do a inversion on your backs and with your block. I'm going to use a belt too for this little sequence. So there they are, a block and a belt. Once you've set yourself up, just leave your props to the side for a moment and then give yourself time to settle in. Gravity is your complete friend and ally here, so release the back body to gravity. Soften as much as you can. That's a good place to start from. And then let's take up the block underneath the sacrum. So I'm going to use it on its lowest end. You might have it on mid-range where your sacrum's on the top with a little bit more height. But flat is just fine for me this morning. Find the sweet spot where your sacrum rests comfortably. And if that's not at all comfortable for you, then you can do fine without using the block at all, just back to resting your sacrum flat to the mat. Then one leg in, and then the other. And here, take up your belt. Loosen it so it's not bound anymore. And catch your both feet. And straighten your legs. I think my hamstrings are reasonably long and supple. Maybe not what they used to be, but they're fine. But if your hamstrings are tight, it'll show up with difficulty in straightening your legs. And in that case, just keep your knees above your hips. And don't worry too much about fully straightening them. Then look at your feet and let's play around with a few adjustments. Adjust your feet so that they're parallel with the ceiling. So you were standing on the ceiling. Elongate your toes. Keep even the pressure, which is very light onto the belt, on the big toe base. And the little toe base, that's where your belt is. Just kind of waking up those areas again. flex your feet and draw your toes down towards your knees. And now in reverse, then extend your feet away from you up towards the ceiling so the toes are higher than the heels. Go back and forth between those two movements. But keep the big toe base and the little toe base in contact with the belt. I'm going to hold the belt near to its ends and then widen my feet into something like upside down flying splits. And opening the legs out, you might reach some limits that have to do with your hamstrings, but also with the length of your legs and your arms. Make sure that where your sacrum rests on the block, that your tailbone is moving away and towards the floor. You want to do that so that you're not over-flexing your lumbar spine. Okay, good. And then bring your feet all the way together. And in the last part, keep the belt to the side again. You won't need it. And bend your knees down towards your chest. As you do that more and more, your buttocks will start to roll off of the block, or the tailbone will start to lift. See if you can keep the tailbone moving away from you, or the sitting bones towards the floor. That's another way to say it. And that's a condition that we put on us so that we keep the lumbar arch to whatever extent we can. Take a couple of breaths. Where I feel that breath more in my abdomen now. And then one foot to the floor, second foot to the floor, take the block away. And before we set ourselves up for the yoga relaxation, just have your arms out to the side. We'll do the smallest of rotations for the back. Knees to the right. Let them drop to the right. Look to the left. Knees back up. Knees to the left. Look to the right. Bring yourself back into your breathing pattern for this. You can feel quite gentle rolling through the back of your head and neck rotation. Next time that you bring your knees back to center, get whatever props you need for the yoga relaxation. I'm going to use a blanket as a pillow to support the back of my head and my neck. It's a little cooler where I'm practicing with you today, so maybe a blanket to cover you. I feel like I've done enough work so that I don't need that for myself. And perhaps a bolster underneath the backs of your knees. I don't know why it is, but it seems like people get into Shavasana much more quickly than they do to other poses. I don't know what that is. But once you've arrived there, then check that your props support you in the most comfortable way. And you might just lift your head off the floor for a moment and look down the line of the front of your body. And as much as you can, lie in a straight line. So the pubis, the belly button, the breastplate, the shoulders and head, all in one line. Then find your favored position for your arms out at a little distance from the side of your body. I'm not using an eye covering today, but it's always a lovely thing to do as the blocking out of the light and a light pressure over your eyelids and your eyes helps relax your eyes efficiently. We don't apply the word efficiency very much to Shavasana. Maybe I should say more thoroughly. Give yourself time to relax the physical senses and most especially your eyes. And also the inside of your mouth. Your jaw, your lips. Allow the mat, the floor, whatever props you've used, to receive the weight of your body. Allow gravity to support you completely. Allow for letting go, emptying out. In a moment, I'll begin to lead us out of the relaxation, but it's always possible for you to linger longer, stay as long as you like. Otherwise, you can consider rolling on to one side, but do stay there for a few more breaths. When you're ready to and want to begin to sit up, use your hands to help you do that. And find a comfortable seat. And join hands in front of the breastbone with your elbows lifted a little bit to connect you with your heart center. Incline your head towards your heart. Breathe into your heart. Acknowledging and appreciating the privilege of being able to practice like this in the great tradition of yoga. Offering a sign of respect to ourselves and to everyone. We say namaste. Thank you for practicing with me.